Hey guys, welcome. This is Flex Day with the Lather Games. It's the 18th shave of the Lather Games, the 18th of June. And flex meaning show off. And it's where you use the highest retail price items that you have. And so by far, it took the most money to get Martin de Candre. And I think it's $60 or $70 if you want to have it sent over from France. And so that's why it's usually best to buy two of the tubs, because then the shipping's pretty much the same. You get a better value that way, obviously. Now, I discovered by using this soap all through August that I didn't really like the base too much. But it's a very economical soap, even at such a high price point, because it's very concentrated and it lasts you years. I think it would end up, I think it was maybe $2 or $3 a month is what you would be paying as an American getting this soap, using it every day. And that's really kind of a bargain price, right? Not too bad, not too bad. I just happen not to like the lather as much as a lot of people do. This is my expensive soap. My expensive brush is my Lather Games prize from last year. It's a gorgeous That Darn Rob handle. Absolutely beautiful. And I love the ergonomics of it. And then it's a Declaration Grooming knot. And those are expensive. This is a B4. And so those are hard to obtain these days for sure. And so it's rare and well made, etc. An expensive knot and a rare one too. I've had it soaking. The tips gel just a bit, so we'll get it back in the water. And the Wolfman. I have a couple of Wolfman razors, and this is probably the most expensive technically because I bought this one full retail. This is the only one I was able to jump on the waiting list. He switched everything to a waiting list, and I was able to request exactly what I wanted. And this is it. And I'm very glad that I got the brushed. I really enjoy the brushed look and feel. And my other ones are polished for the most part. And so it's my highest priced razor. So let's see how he does with the Nacet. It is a low gap WR2 razor from Wolfman. Now this is shave $3.95. Can you believe that? After today, we've just got 5 more shaves and we hit 400. That is crazy pants. And here is the Nacet blade. See the old Sharpie dot remnants over on this side, and then the N, and then the 1 right there. And I can't remember how the WR2 here is at handling it. I don't think it did very well, but I may have not been doing the against the grain pass when I used this last. And so we'll just have to see. This razor is one of the most beautiful ones that I really own, but it holds the blade at a pretty shallow arc. There are others that really bend the blade a little bit more, and I think I often like that. I think this is an 85 gap Wolfman, which is very low on the razor spectrum for the WR2. Anthony, welcome. All right, get some water on my face. The other products, as far as cologne, the frag, and then the aftershave, I don't really have expensive stuff. And so it was a little difficult, but I did score some aftershave by Chatillon Luxe, and that is how you pronounce that. Pretty crazy. It's French. The Lamplight Penance, which is an amazing scent. A lot of people thought it was weird. I thought it was awesome. And so I'm glad I got some of this. It's hard to get now, so it is rare. And I guess it's about as expensive as any other aftershave I have. I really don't have expensive aftershave. And almost all mine are used, purchased used, and or on sale. So, but that'll be a pleasure to use that today. And so for the frag, for the cologne, I guess on an ounce by ounce basis, this might be my most expensive. Creed is a fragrance house that makes popular colognes. This is Original Santal, and this is a sample of it, of course, but by weight, it's probably my most expensive. Similarly, I have a tickle in my throat today. I don't have expensive colognes, just like the other aftershave products. I have tons of Dollar Tree varieties because I enjoy playing around with those. Why not? It's cheap and they last for a couple of hours. And some of them are pretty nice. And then I've got a few samples of nice ones on this very small size here. The stag is not, it is repulsive to her. Hey man. It's exactly right. Today is Flex Day just because it's a theme for the Lather games, but a lot of my shaves have been with vintage gear and razors that don't cost very much at all. Matter of fact, you might be able to, for all the Wolfman, Timeless, charcoal goods, other razors out there that are really expensive, if you found an inexpensive razor that had the same geometry, it would feel like the same shave. It really would. And so you might be able to luck out for your wallet and find a great shaver out there that matches you in the less expensive category. Why not try? Now, if you do want something with more premium materials, if you've got the extra money, if you're thinking about passing it on to your kid, then something with a little bit better materials might be attractive to you. If you don't have any hobbies like me, this is my one hobby, then, that's how I can justify. And how many people can buy something that's expensive and get to use it every single day? If you buy a boat or a race car or a nice expensive motorbike, a big motorhome, I mean, you don't get to use that every day. Most people don't. But these are ones that I do get to experience and enjoy and relish every single day. But the good news is for people with small wallets, you can get very good feeling shaves for very cheap as well. So the Creed Original Santal is if I were to buy a normal size bottle of it, it would be quite expensive, way out of my price range. And so that's why I buy little tiny samples from guys who split them up for us. All right, I've gotten my face wet already. Now, something curious, I used this last August as my soap for the entire month because I wanted to see how much Martin de Candre gets used up with a month of uses. Hey, Ali. And when I last left it, it was not as low as this. You know why? It's got to be water. It was probably in the middle here, maybe even 7 millimeters higher. But so much time has gone by that I believe the water has evaporated, and so the soap has shrunk. I find that very fascinating. And when this was being used once a day, I was counting my swirls because too many swirls would give me way too much lather. I think it was maybe 7, 10, 11, something like that. That's how many swirls, maybe 13. That's how many swirls that I had to do, and I got plenty of lather using that. So I'm going to have to do more than that now since it has had a chance to get dry. So let's do that. Let's do like a 20-second load. I'm going to shake most of the water out of the brush. 20-second may be overkill, but let's just do it anyway. This soap may have a luxurious feel for people who, that should be 10 seconds. For people who maybe like drier lathers. It is a vegan soap, so it doesn't have the tallow. All right, there we go. Not a lot looking on the brush. Then we can kind of do a little face wash with the excess. Hey, Mike. Hey, man. Yeah, go watch your team, man. Hi to you back. Oh, okay. It's his 76ers, man. If they lose, then their season is done. I am from the Carolinas, and so genetically speaking, I should like basketball. But unfortunately, I don't. I'm more of a football fan myself, American football. All right. So that was, I wouldn't be surprised if I could shave with this little bit that was on my face here. Go ahead and rinse that off. Using cool water as usual. Mr. Panch. Hey. Roger that. Okay. Mr. Punch. Maybe that's what it's called. Maybe that's how it's pronounced. Okay. Let's whip up this lather. Maybe I'll remember to keep it a little drier and see if we can have it have more of a creamy feel to it. And yeah, as you can see, it kind of bursts forth. A little bit of body to it. I learned not to really enjoy this Vetyver scent. I liked it when I was only using this soap once every couple of months or once every 6 months. And it keeps increasing with volume as we keep adding water. Yeah, Mike, that matte finish, I wouldn't be surprised. I think that might help it to glide. Yeah, Mr. Punch, do hope good things for your puppy. We'll pray for you. Sorry to hear about that. I don't know enough about parvo. This is Flex Day, Ali. Yes, sir. So the brush is a B4 declaration knot on a That Darn Rob handle. It was actually my prize last year for the Lather Games. I think I took 5th place that year. Competition is fierce this year. And if I get anything at all, I'll be happy. This is the truth. The razor is the WR2 brushed finish. Wolfman, and this is the one that I bought retail, getting on his wait list. And I figure if I had to wait several months or even a year, then that's how long it took. I wasn't going to do anything else, to get one. So, and then I was able to order the gap and finish and handle that I exactly wanted. I'm going to keep this a little firmer than I usually take it, in hopes of maybe trying to experience the luxury that a lot of people claim that this soap has. Has a big reputation among certain circles. Unfortunately, it has kind of failed with me in general to achieve those same expectations. Yeah, thank you very much about the brush. All right. Let's give it a shot. The B4, I wasn't able to have one for quite a while. stumbled across one and realized that I liked that even more than my B5. The B5 was the knot when I first heard about declaration grooming and their knots, and I decided to save up and get one. And that was the current version that was out there at the time. Yeah, so you can see this is a little thicker than I usually like it, a little drier because of the buildup we've got pretty quickly around my goatee. The soft tips on this brush are definitely going to set this lather in its best light, that's for sure. Yeah, I agree. I think MDC can be a little drying for some people. You can pump more water into it, and in that case, I did not experience any drying with it. However, I do have oily skin, and so that could be something that plays into it as well. Yeah, so this feels pretty, it is nice and slick, and it is creamy. And it definitely looks like it needs more water in general to me, but I'm going to keep it kind of this way. Just spend a little extra time working it so that we get nice absorption into the skin, so we get some good protection. Definitely feels like it feels thick. Needs some more water, but we're going to try something different today. So maybe this thick feeling that people get when they use that, they're interpreting it as luxury. Many people say, and see, look at the ridges and undulations. Now, when I pull lather off of my face and show it to you guys like this, it almost never has that much contrast and contour and hills and valleys. This is much drier than usual. So I think many people might mistake the luxury for just a lather that's a little too dry. Matter of fact, I cannot help but add a little bit of water to this. Help it out a little bit. Water is equal to slickness. The Vetyver scent I did really enjoy until I used this every day for a month. I wonder if some of my other favorites would turn on me if I used them too often. All right, still quite thick, but let's give it a shot. Very concentrated. I don't think I needed that 20-second load. I may have made a mistake and did a 30-second load. Keith, hey man. Hey, welcome. That's really funny, Keith. I read your message a little differently than intended. At first, my eyes read it as, hey, gents, sadly, Ali is here, I see. But that was just an abbreviation of my own my own username. Keith is a longtime commenter, and I've enjoyed our conversations over the years for sure. All right, so we've got the today's flex day for anybody joining us, where we use our most expensive stuff. I have a Wolfman WR2 razor, a That Darn Rob gorgeous resin handle with a Declaration Grooming B4 knot. I don't have any pure Declaration brushes, you know, where you get them when he's dropped them. Very hard to get. They're rare. And I just don't want to put forth the effort to try to get one of those. A more ergonomic handle made by somebody else, it's going to be just fine for me. If you want a Declaration knot, that's my advice. Go find a good handle or even a cheap handle. And you can send it to Scott, and then he will knot it up for you instead of you having to wait for a drop. Win, right? And you'll also save some money because you might be paying less for your handle than you might have to pay for a Declaration Grooming handle. Now, in certain areas of the shaving world, there's a little bit more prestige with having a purely Declaration, a full Declaration brush, knot and handle, but I don't care about that. Okay, so here we go. We let that sit on my face for a little bit. Can you believe in 5 shaves we're going to be at 400? All right. I wondered if this handle, this is the H3, I believe, and it's easy for me to remember because it's got 3 bands of knurling right there. I thought, you know what, that could get on my nerves. That could get a little sticky with the way it looks because it's not a classic look, but I'm really enjoying it. Very happy with it. This is a small gap. This is about an 85, I believe. You'll be able to look in the description of the video once it's finished and see the exact gap if I'm incorrect. 95 was the lowest that he was allowing when I bought this, but when they let me know that it was my turn, I asked them if there was any way, if they had another razor laying around that was a smaller gap, I'd love to try it. And they actually did. And so that's how I ended up with this gap. Not much tugging. Pretty comfortable. Be interested to see how this does when I do that against the grain pass. I'll assume I'll need to do it to make sure I get a good close shave, you know, right next to my Adam's apple. I don't think I've tried that with this razor yet. So mainly sticking with the grain. On my neck, I pretty much do cross grain the whole time. I can feel the thickness. Look at the layers there. I mean, if I turn it sideways, you can see the layers. They're defined, the buildup, the rolling ridges. My face feels a lot more pasty than it usually does because I'm using that a much drier lather than usual. Didn't really feel all that luxurious, but in fairness, I do have oily skin. And so that could be the lather and killing the oils in my skin and therefore not providing as much slickness. Now it turns out we've got pretty concentrated lather right here. We can see it by just the contours of it. So I'm going to add a little bit more water, mix it up. Yeah, you know, it's possible that the WR1 is a more comfortable, smooth razor for me at the lower gaps. I think I have one that's a 46 and one that's a 54. I think those may present a more smooth shave for me, but I love the beauty of the WR2 so much that I kind of turn to it more. Yeah, there we go. That's better. They're gonna now. X-Spec is a cream that's pretty expensive. I used to use it for the lather games on expensive stuff day. I had a sample of it that somebody was nice enough to provide, but I think I finally used it up. But to be honest, it wasn't a great performer. So I think kind of with the MDC, it just has a reputation. It definitely didn't beat out many of the soaps that I'm used to using, the crops or hard soaps. Let's try a cross grain now. Very comfortable. Now, you know, I do talk about lathers like this being too dry, but if you like them this way, nothing wrong with that. It's all subjective. You may like the feel of a slower shave or a more concentrated lather. And in this hobby, it's so subjective that everybody makes up their own rules. And so if you like it better, then go for it. I do advise people to try out other techniques like a really wet lather and different things, just because until you give something a good try, you don't know what you're missing. You don't know what's possible. And then if you want to go back to what you're doing, then, you know, go for it with freedom and information. And a rinse now. Yeah. See, that time after that pass, we had the rinse and it felt much more luxurious. It did, because we got a little bit more water in there. The oils on my skin have been quelled by the first pass. You got it, Keith. That's right. This is shave number 395 for the Nacet. Less than a week. We will hit the big 400. I just never thought we would get this far. Keith's been with me maybe even back when the Nacet was first starting out. Such a pleasure to use that brush. When you're on your second and third pass and you're applying those passes, you don't actually need to work it into your face. You can just kind of paint it on and that's it. But I can't help it. Sometimes I got to enjoy that brush a little bit. So this is the third pass, keeping with the cross grain. I don't really feel the need to go against the grain on my face. I usually get a close enough shave. Now, on this third pass where I'm doing the cross grain for a second time, sometimes I will do a slant motion up in a diagonal, kind of like this. And sometimes that can give me a closer cut. Still quite comfortable. Since it was flex day, I couldn't use my brand new Pearl razor today. I just got it in from India, from the people who make it. And okay, I'm going to reverse my cross grain direction for right here, and then I'm going to do a touch-up pass against the grain, and we'll see how well that treats us. One nice thing is when you leave it on kind of dry and thick like this, you can bring some water to your face, and it kind of wakes up that resident dry-ish lather. Yeah, this has to be what people are talking about when they speak of this as a really luxurious, creamy lather. I think they just like them drier than I do, and that's okay. Ali, yeah, it may have been you and I that were talking about the Persona 74, maybe even earlier today. Hey, Zachary, welcome. Doing his head shave today. Cool at the moment. Nice. And we're about to do the fourth pass. How's the face? Face is nice. So we'll leave that and we'll just do the neck, including the against the grain pass. And let's see, where's the bent spot on the Nacet? There it is there. Okay. Go with the against the grain. I like to go kind of gently at first with small strokes. And that way, if it's extra nasty feeling, I can kind of abandon my efforts. I'm not out to just have a bunch of uncomfortableness for no reason at all. Pretty comfy otherwise down here in the neck. It is not a good match, as it turns out. It doesn't really handle the ATG very well. However, I bet I get a nice close shave with it. All right, so that's 4 passes. I guess it's actually maybe 4.5. I can't remember. I lost count. The Vetyver is nice in one sense, in that so many other aftershave products contain a little bit of Vetyver. And so then this soap should really apply and work well with a large number of aftershave products. I've got a theory that I'm thinking about. Instead of doing the soap with a scent, followed by an aftershave with a scent, whether it's a balm or an alcohol splash, what if I switched to having colognes be my main scent provider, and my not my soap being unscented, because I need that during the shave. Very important to me. It's really part of the experience. I would enjoy a shave much less if I was using an unscented soap, unless maybe I sprayed that cologne on me before the shave started. I mean, that's got potential. But the point is changing that aftershave, either balm or splash, to something without a scent. Maybe a witch hazel like Thayer's, maybe an unscented balm. There are some good ones out there. There's a 5-in-1 by somebody, the Soap Commander unscented. You've got a menthol and a no menthol version. It performs very well. Sterling, of course, performs very well. And so I could go with that being unscented. And then the cologne is what? So the cologne gives me scent for longer than the shave. The soap gives me scent during the shave. And the aftershave, then I don't have to try to maintain some kind of supply of aftershave products. And the colognes are going to last a long time because of their nature. Alcohol splashes last a good while because of that very same thing. But balms, which previously have been very enjoyable to me, they don't last as long. They go bad because of they're not alcohol in most cases. And so I may get more longevity out of switching away from balms or switching to an unscented balm. And then the other two products during the shave, the frag and the soap, would have scent. And that hit me because of this lather games. Normally I don't put on a fragrance. Normally I don't put on a cologne after my shave. I'll put it on some other time of the day, but I'm participating. I want to get that extra point because of the fragrances that we're playing around with this month. And so it hit me, wait a minute, if I'm using an aftershave that has some smell and then I spray something on my wrist that's a different cologne, then that's kind of conflicting. Why be redundant about a scent? So you'd either have to have the matching set with a cologne and then a matching splash, or you'd always have to be thinking about one that translates well into the other, and I've been doing that pretty good with the soap and the splash. I often don't have a matching set there. And so maybe it wouldn't be too big of a deal, but I'm thinking about that. Now I've got a bunch of alcohol splashes, so they're not going to expire anytime soon. It may be more economical as well to get the cologne instead of the splash, because I bet you get more uses, more shaves out of a cologne than a splash, especially with the Sterling cologne, because that's maybe double the price of a splash. But I guarantee you it's got to last longer than maybe twice as many uses as you would get from a splash. Anyway, just something I'm thinking about, an idea I'm pondering. That also gave me a chance to just see how my face was working. I'm not feeling any drying effects or anything like that. I think that's another good reason to add some water like I did during the shave, prevent the dryness feeling on my face. Feeling pretty good. Let's check the closeness. Okay, that's a pretty good shave right there. There are some little, patches maybe that some people might want to go back over and hit, but most jobs would not have a problem at all with the level of closeness that I have achieved today. So therefore, that's the standard that I use with keeping this Nacet going. Let us put on the Lamplight Penance. This is a funky fragrance that is very different. and I love it. It's one of those that you either love or hate. And the smoky lamp oil smell, that sort of thing. Oh my goodness. And there's some fruity notes in there too. It's got a neat story if you want to check it out on the Chatillon Luxe website. Oh man, and they're just different pieces of it and elements to it. You'll smell something right away, and then in a half an hour you'll smell something different. I love putting it on with both hands so that in half an hour I can smell my hands again and refresh myself with it. Oh, that's just delicious. I bought it. I'm so glad I did because I haven't really seen it on anybody's used posts since then. I'm so blessed by it. When they shipped it to me, some leaked out, and I was visiting some relatives when I got it. And I came back 2 months later to visit those same relatives, and the room where I had stayed still had the Lamplight Penance fruitiness and some of those other notes wafting around in that room. It's distinctive. I could see how people would smell it and say gross. Oh, but the people who love it, oh, there's just, to me, it doesn't seem like there's anything close out there that matches this, at least in my mind right now. Wonderful, wonderful. So while I'm able to soak and enjoy in this scent, I'm going to delay putting on that Creed Santal just so that this is the experience that I want it to be. As you can see, that 20 seconds of loading gave me plenty of soap. 3 passes here at least is what I have. And so I didn't need to go very long. Any questions, feel free to post. Looks like we might have a little bit of an internet connection problem. Hopefully we're back going. We may have blipped out there for a second. If you are showing, if you're hearing me, how about somebody put a ping there on the message? Oh, you know what I can do? I forgot to switch over to my more stable network at this location. I am displeased with the network speed. So we'll switch over to that right quick. I'll probably blip out for a second here as it switches to the other network. Roger that. Thank you, Keith, Zachary, Ali. Appreciate that. We're going to have another pause again. I'm going to connect to the other one. Okay, looks like we're back in action. Now the network shouldn't be laggy or anything like that. So we will take off the Nacet blade. Use number 395 is done. Place it carefully on a hand towel to dry it. I believe that drying the blade is very important. Would be my guess that it's preventing micro rust and buildup of different sorts, that kind of thing. So it may turn out to be a really important thing, but really wet lathers and good technique, I think, are decreasing my wear on the blade. And so that's my guess as to why I'm able to get this guy to go for so long. Put the razor over there to rest. All right. So here is I worked on it with a towel a little bit. So here's the brush. Dense brushes like this, make sure to give them a really, really good rinse. Get the soap out from the middle. And we can see the colors and stuff on it a little better now with that it doesn't have lather. Really cool. Terrific prize from last Lather games. And so there we go. That's flex day. Oh, and the challenge is to create a haiku. And so I will be doing that after the shave and putting it on my shave of the day report that I will submit today. Carbon Shaving is the highlighted sponsor of the day, and husband and wife team, and they put out some razors back when. I kind of came down hard on them a little bit because it really didn't seem like a lot of effort was made in the manufacturing process. The designs were just overly simplistic for the amount of money they were charging. And but they've been they did create more handle designs, so that's neat. And it seems like they're really resonating with some shavers despite the high cost. So obviously the geometry of the heads that they've made are matching up with some people's needs out there. And I think they're a little on the aggressive side, and they're expensive. Two things that will probably keep me away from one. But that's this kind of the little surprise sponsor of the day, if you're interested in that sort of thing. Yeah, Danny, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It is a neat guy. I like him. I like it a lot. And it's easy to tell the difference between the H2 and the H1 by looking at the top cap. The H1 doesn't have these 4 posts on the corners. The I said H2. The H is for handles, the WR2. This is the WR2 and the WR1. This is also one that was patterned after that original BBS1, which, speaking of those, that's the one you're going to use today if you have one, because of Flex Day. Because sometimes people are paying $1,500 for one of those. It's obviously inflated, but they are rare. And there's no way you're going to catch me near one of those. I mean, even if I looked into one and somebody was like, you know what, I bought this back in the day for $150. I don't know what they retailed for back then. For $150, and I don't want to fleece anybody. So here, you want it for $150? I'll give it to you for $150. I probably still wouldn't take it because I think they were more aggressive than I like to have my razors. And so, but that'd be neat to try one, right? Definitely a piece of history that kind of launched Wolfman or something like that. So we're just going to assemble this guy back. One thing about Wolfman, I have gotten that aristocrat looking handle, and I've gotten the hollowed out version, and I prefer the less weight that is the hollowed out version quite a bit. It doesn't feel light. It just feels less heavy, and I like that. I'm glad I chose that option one time when I was buying one or something. Oh man, I am so enjoying the Lamplight Penance. All right, it's time to put the cologne on, and then it's time to go make a haiku, right? Original Santal by Creed. I don't like the way it starts out. It starts out a little maybe too bright for me. I do like what it dries down to with this one. I think it dries down to something with more noticeable sandalwood, some smoother notes, something earthy and woody, and I like that quite a bit. But if you ever want to try expensive colognes, and there are guys, Zesty Calco is one of them, and you'll see sometimes him join our chats here, and you call them decants. They're called decants, and that person will go and buy these little sample containers here, and then they will go and buy, like a wholesaler does, a large bottle of the cologne in question, and then they will divvy it up into the smaller things and sell it to you. Sometimes they just make up their own cost, and they're doing a service to the community. They're not trying to make a profit, you know. And it lets you be able to try the expensive stuff before you buy it, which is nice, right? Or just have a little bit of the expensive stuff to to see how it compares to maybe a dupe that you might really enjoy. What if you tried Creta Ventus, such a popular cologne, the real thing, and then you discovered that Executive Man from Sterling is close enough and you love it. And so then you can just rest happy knowing that there's not something better out there that's more expensive, that's always beyond your reach, that the Sterling is meeting your needs and making you happy. So that would be cool, right? Keith also likes the handles with a little bit less heaviness to them. Danny, I might potentially have more control with the hollow handle, but I don't really think so. I don't think the difference was enough to affect control. I don't. That's right. Some razors, if they get really heavy, you do, it is harder to keep the light pressure, but I think I managed to somehow do it just fine, even with the heavier handle. And I'll tell you, with a Timeless that had that longer handle, like a 100mm handle or something like that, I had one of those for a short period years ago, and that one was too heavy and bulky for me. I had to pass that handle on. Let's see what Sugar Daddy likes him with less weight. I don't know. I think maybe we had an autocorrect issue. I don't understand. All right, so let's dry out my lather bowl. As usual, this is a 3D printed bowl. Oh, there's a little spot I need to clean out right there. And I will have in the description later on, when I adjust it tonight, it will have a link to these plans in case you have a 3D printer or can access one online. SugarDaddyShaves.com has a page about 3D printing where a few of you viewers have let me know some successful companies that have printed things for you. And so for you who don't know anything about 3D printing, even if it's not a bowl, any design you get on Thingiverse or other websites, you can use these companies to print things up for you, and then they mail them to you. I've seen razor racks where it's like a caddy specially made for razors that you would put on the counter of your sink with holes to hold razor handles in, so that you could put 2 or 3 of them right there, and then maybe a spot for blades, that sort of thing. You might be able to print, have some of those printed for you, and usually you can choose your color and material. So it's pretty neat. Someday I hope to get a 3D printer. Danny, you're very kind. You're very generous with your words. How much water do we use today with that 20 seconds of loading? 25 milliliters. And that was for a fairly dry lather, relatively speaking. Here, I believe we have, I don't think we have hard water, maybe a little hard, but this stuff works pretty well with hard water, as you can see. I think we're done for today. I will, I'll dry my blade and put it away and give you guys a chance if anybody has any last minute questions. If you like the lather games or think you might like them, make sure not to miss the podcast. Go over to Our Wet Shaving on Reddit and look for the pod. They've done 3 editions of it now. There is some foul language because it's guys on the internet, and sometimes there's some gross things. And so if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, you'll want to avoid it. But potty talk, that sort of thing, because after all, we're kind of a bunch of adolescents sometimes, aren't we? And potty talk is often quite funny. And but it's a neat way to highlight the week. If there are any posts during the lather games, because that's kind of what it's all about, doing your shave and then doing a post, they'll tell you the highlights. And so it's a way not to miss some of the really big things that have happened during that particular week. So I'm going to put my little dot here on number 395. And now we just have one more row of 5 dots before we hit 400. And I like to put my little Nacet blade away safely, away from other blades, and actually put them in this little book. That way, it also, the paper, if there's any moisture, the paper can absorb that potentially, and then I don't lose it. All right. Oh, Zachary, very cool. Yeah, isn't it crazy when you share this bowl? A lot of people gravitate toward it because it's nice looking and it's practical. And I tell you what, and Zachary, you probably already know this, but this is one of the best brush rests on the market. It beats the Pereira. It beats the fine lather bowl because any size, I have not found a brush that doesn't fit on this thing. Because if you have a shorter handle, often this can have more weight. And then if you have a bulb or something, some kind of shape where the highest point is farther back, then it won't sit on the edge. It'll just fall right in with those other bowls. But it's always, I haven't found a brush that didn't fit on this one. Pretty neat. Oh, Keith, I'm glad they helped you starting out, and that was my goal, to not necessarily give you the exact recipe because it's kind of different for everybody. And then I'm so glad you said that. You kind of use that as a starting point, and then you were able to keep track of what you were doing and change your lather recipe as needed. That's terrific. I appreciate that, Danny, as well. Thank you, Danny. All right, I'm give this guy a good drying here. And I think that will be today's shave. I'm going to go and spend some time with the kids this weekend. It'll be nice. Danny, that's a good question. Danny has Danny saw me using a bowl that I got from the Dollar Tree. It's a Santa Fe version. They come in different colors, and it's actually very effective at creating a lather. It is deeper than this bowl, and so you'll get your hands less sudsy with this one than you will with the one from the Dollar Tree. It just depends. Danny, it depends. They both whip up pretty much the same lather. Because of this one's texture, it's possible it might whip it up a little quicker, but I tell you, it's not going to be any more than 30 seconds quicker, I think. And so to me, may not be necessarily a good enough reason. This one may travel better because it's not going to break like the ceramic one will, but it is quite expensive compared to $1. Hey, Peter, welcome. You're catching the very end. Very end. Yeah, see, if you're happy with a Dollar Tree bowl, don't feel bad at all because there are other lather bowls that are out there for $30 that are the same geometry as the one you're using from the Dollar Tree, that Santa Fe bowl. I love the curvature. This one has a more flat curvature, but that Dollar Tree one has a more kind of U-shaped. And when you take your brush, let me get the brush. When you take your brush and you're moving around in the bowl, if you move around a flat space, then the brush isn't really changing shape. And changing the shape of the brush agitates the lather and helps you to generate lather. The bottom of that Dollar Tree bowl is kind of U-shaped. And so just a small movement and you're changing the shape of the brush. And so you're causing that agitation pretty quickly. And so I think it's very efficient at generating the lather. And so that's why it's I believe that's why it's such a great tool. All right, guys, been wonderful. I think it's time to close up shop. All the best to you guys for your weekend. And tomorrow, I believe, is Mammoth Day. And I'll pick one of my Mammoth soaps to use. And one awesome thing about Mammoth, he gives a portion to a human trafficking benefit charity of all of his sales, which is really pretty cool. Good guy. Take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and it's been wonderful talking to you guys, and I hope there's been something in this video to help you out. Take care now. Bye. Yes, Peter, you did catch a minute or two, and now you can hit the replay. Peter, as a recap, today was Flex Day, where we used our most expensive stuff. I used a Wolfman WR2, brushed at, I think, an 85 gap, and I used my Martin de Candre Vetyver that I used all of August last time. I used my B4 knot Declaration Grooming with a TDR, that darn Rob handle, that I was actually my award last year for the Lather games. And it's probably my most valuable brush because of the rarity and the cost of the Declaration knot, in addition to the wonderful handle. My post-shave was Lamplight Penance from Chatillon Luxe, and I love that scent. And my cologne for today was Creed Santal, Original Santal. It's being friendly with the Lamplight Penance. I'm kind of surprised at that, but it's not overwhelming. The Lamplight Penance is owning the day right now, and I'm fine with that. I love that one. All right, guys. Very cool. Take care now.